How's it going, everybody? This is Beat the Bush. Today, I'd like to talk about credit card balance transfers. It seems like every once in a while, the credit card likes to send you these checks that has 0% APR and then maybe sometimes and 0% fees. So it seems like you can write yourself a huge check, whatever credit limit you have, 10,000, 20,000 or something, and you just write it to yourself. You just deposit in your bank and then you can collect interest on it. Some people might just take this money and just spend it everywhere, but at the end of the promotional period, like this one, it goes to 16.24%. So you spent all this money and you don't have any to pay it back, and then suddenly you have to pay back all this interest. It's kind of like borrowing from a loan shark. You get free money now, yes, but then you're on the hook for a lot worse later. So today I like to analyze, if you get a 0% APR, 0% interest, should you take that chunk out and put it in a savings account and let it collect interest, and then maybe at the end of the promotional period, right before it expires, you take that money and put it back, then you get essentially free interest on the money that you took out of the credit card. Usually with these balance transfer thing, you can skip to the part where it says interest and fee information. It's always gonna look like this little table box thing. For what I do is I don't even read this. This is really confusing to read everything, so I just go APR. 0% till when? Okay. And then I look at fee. How much is a fee? 2%. If it's anything other than 0, I just kind of toss it. Oftentimes when you get a 0 balance transfer check, you don't always get a 0% APR and 0% fee. A lot of times you only get maybe 0% APR and then the fee is like 2%, 3 or 5% even. But sometimes you might get 0% APR and 0% fee, which is kind of like free money because there's no fee charge, there's no interest on it, so you just get the money, you get to hold it, but then at the end of the promotional period, you got to give it back. Usually it's not even a whole year these days that I see the balance transfer is usually less than that, about 10 months. And the APR jumps up to something ridiculous after that, like 16, 18, 20%. Let's say your credit card limit's about $15,000, you take out $12,000, you write a check for $12,000 to yourself and put it in a savings account. And let's say you have a really good savings account, a 1% savings account. And so if you had it in there for one full year, you get $120, but you can only put it there for 10 months. And on top of that, you probably have to take it out a little bit earlier than that in order to pay for the credit card. Just, have a little buffer room. So you might not even get 10 months, maybe 9 and 9.5 if you cut it really close. But let's just say you do all 10 months and you get $100 of free money. And then you do know that this money here is an interest, so you have to pay taxes on it, whatever tax bracket you are at. It's likely probably about 25%. So $100 minus your taxes, you're really getting $75. Now you have to know, if you write a check for the full limit of your credit card, you can no longer use that for your cash back. Let's say it's a Chase Freedom card. You have a cash back on certain categories. If you don't have any card to replace with that, then you're essentially losing out on these cash back opportunities. For example, a full year, it may not be very hard to spend $2,000 in those various categories. That's maybe like $200 a month. 5% on the $2,000, it's already $100. So if you choose to do a balance transfer into, let's say, a Chase Freedom, and you have no replacement for the cashback opportunities, then essentially it's a worse offer to just take the money out and not use the card because you're not going to get any of this cashback anymore. Let's say you think, aha, I'm going to get around this by leaving a little bit of room in your credit card, because let's say you have a $15,000 limit and you only take out $12,000, you have still a $3,000 to spend so that you can get cash back. But the part here is that the part that you spend, you cannot pay off. You have to pay off whatever you borrowed first. This $12,000 that you borrowed, you have to pay that off before you're allowed to pay off the extra stuff that you spent. So all the extra stuff that you spend gets accrued, and it's going to collect interest at the regular rate of your credit card. So here's a diagram to show that this is the limit of your credit card. All of a sudden, let's say you carry 0 balance, boom, you put $12,000 in here, right? And then you go, oh, I'm gonna do some cash back spending so I can still get some cash back. You put something here. Or let's say you forgot you wrote a balance transfer into that card and you spent something small like $100 or $50 right here. The thing is, once you do that, you cannot specify what you want to pay off. Once you put that in there, you're going to collect interest on that purchase until you finish paying off this $12,000. So that means if you accidentally spent something on this card that you did the balance transfer on, you're going to null out this opportunity here because you essentially need to pay it all back just so that you won't pay interest on this purchase over here. Because this whole balance transfer thing works on a first in, first out principle. First in here is the $12,000. Second in here is your subsequent purchase of $50, right? And then if you go and pay something, it's always going to pay this big thing here first before you can ever get to the 50. So if you ever make that tiny little mistake of spending something, you know, a little bit on there, you're going to end up paying interest on that thing for the whole 10 months if you decide to not just, you know, cancel everything suddenly. So it's really easy to make that mistake if you have a card somewhere and you kind of forgot about it. It's in your drawer, or maybe you put it in your wallet for some reason. One of those days where, you know, you're not thinking right, you accidentally use the card. Then you're going to collect roughly $13 of interest on this $100 purchase, thus reducing the savings rate trick that you're doing where you transfer the money into your savings account just to collect interest. So this $75 gets reduced by another $13, and you know, this becomes a worse and worse deal. So what's the moral of the story here? Yes, maybe you can collect up to $150 after taxes or something. Let's say that's like double that. But the hassle that you have to go through, you have to keep track of it, especially if you're using a card that has cash back. It's really not worth it. But let's say it's a card that has nothing. It's a really terrible card, but suddenly they give you this great offer. It might be worth it to do that if you're really good with keeping track of money, and then you're not gonna ever go around spend that. You're always gonna keep that money in your bank account, and then right when it's due, you pay it all off. So you gotta be really responsible if you're gonna take advantage of these balance transfer in order to earn free interest. So that's all I have for you for today. I'm sure a lot of people think about the same thing when you get a balance transfer offer that's essentially free money with 0% fees. Don't forget to give me a like over here, leave a comment down below if you ever done this. Write yourself a check and collect interest on it and then pay it off right before it's due. And don't forget to subscribe over here. Thanks for watching.